as much as I care for you, as much as I love you, if I'm drinking and you're talking to me about God and all the things that can help me, if you ain't been a drunk,
you're not listening.
You're not hearing
There's
me.
some things I can't do because that's not part of my life.
Yep.
Yeah. You and I have been friends for 25 years now or so. With that, we have a running argument, debate, discussion, comparing AA and the church, Alcoholics Anonymous. That has been part of your life for 35 years, 38 years, something like that. I came to it a different way. I came through it through the writings of Samuel Shoemaker, the priest, New York priest who was and pastor who was part of Bill W.'s putting AA together, and got to know the church side of that. One of the arguments you and I have or discussions is how much better AA does church than church. AA was born in the church, born from the church, but now does church better than the church does.
And I will go with the fact that there are certain circumstances. AA is such a respecter of the tradition from which it came.
Right.
And of course, it has respect for all the world's religions because we're a worldwide organization now. But AA does seem to work in some cases where church has either not been what the person needed or in some cases spit the person out. And there are a couple of things that I think really separate us. Number one, we fuzz up the God concept quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Once you go into a Christian denomination, there are certain points of faith that you're required to keep. AA has none of that.
God as you see him, God is...
Yeah. Shoemaker was, or the Oxford group was non-denominational.
Right.
We just took it all the way. We ask that you come up with a higher power, that you live for something bigger than yourself. But we don't care if that is the God of the tradition you were brought up with, or if it's just sort of metaphorical or the ideals that you want to live by. We know that an alcoholic gets into trouble. We always say we earned this seat. My best thinking got me a seat in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I may as well swap that out for something else. And I think there are two things that really do it. Number one, that fuzzed up God concept lets me, as someone who is, shall we say, between denominations, be comfortable with the God concept. When people, I mean, if you put 100 Baptists in a room and someone says the word God, everyone's translating in their heads.
Right.
No one would get all the points of doctrine the same. And the other thing is, we don't have preachers or psychiatrists or physicians or professors. We have drunks.
Yeah.
You get comfortable with somebody else whose story you can relate to, and you work with them. It's one drunk talking to another. And I think those two things really help us step in where sometimes the church can't.
Okay. Can't, won't, didn't?
We hear it all. There are places where someone simply at some point, I don't think everybody liked this word, but outgrew the faith of their forebears.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
And there are places where people with real problems are treated shabbily in a lot of church settings, unfortunately. And if you come into I remember people, puking in the parking lot, taking a leak where they shouldn't take a leak, whatever. We've all been there. I'm not going to, judge you, throw you out for being what we are if you want to get well. And
for being on that part of your journey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember when I was throwing up in the parking lot. That's part of the journey. That gets you here. Too many people in the church, and you and I know this. We we expect you to be full grown and have it all together when you get in.
And there are some. My first AA sponsor used to say, "Don't bring them to me puking and soiling themselves the first couple of weeks. Get them cleaned up enough that I can talk to them. They can form full sentences, and then I'll sponsor them." So treatment centers do a lot of what we used to do by going into hospitals and things. And I've done 12-step calls in hospitals, in hotel rooms.
Well, you did one the other day.
And that was in a business office, and it was simply, and a 12-step call for the pilgrims out there is simply where someone who wants to get sober sits down with someone who's been sober, and that person just lays out, here's what we do. Do you think you're ready to do this? Here's a 12-step call is about presenting the program to somebody, and it's, a pitch any good churchman will do if somebody's interested. They'll talk about Jesus, talk about the denomination, whatever, and yeah, you saw me doing it. It's simply a matter of here's where the program may be of use to you. Do you think you're ready to do that? And so, sometimes it's sweetness and light, and sometimes it's, look, the finger in the chest. Are you really ready to do this? Because it's a big deal. You have to give up a lot.
Yeah. Well, I saw a little of both from you in that meeting where you confronted our friend with that. What is it that you wish churches understood?
That Alcoholics Anonymous can be a great ally. We take people who, and again, some people come in still full in their faith, full in the denomination, full in the, and I'm talking Hindus, Buddhists, everybody. We've got it all. And then people who it just doesn't work for them the way, in some cases, psychiatry hasn't worked for them. And what I wish churches would know is that we can be an ally. We send a lot of people back. People grow spiritually, and they get to know God in a way that's more familiar to the churches and want to go back, those who haven't been there. And so we offer information, speakers, pamphlets to, say, pastors who kind of standoffish about AA because it is outside of what they're used to. But we love working with, we send people to schools, to prisons, to hospitals, to wherever. And we would love that conversation with any pastor who's doubtful about what we do and whether or not it can feed back into what they do. We don't want anybody scared of us. We are people who came out of the church. We did the things that we saw were working with, and it's like, this anonymity thing. Right. Early on, there were people who would go around saying, I'm an AA, AA really works, I'm sober now, and 2 weeks later they're drunk.
Right.
That makes it look like just the way so many Christians have made Christianity look bad by talking the talk and then falling down.
Right.
And, we would love to be allies with any church group.
Mm-hmm. What's the secret to AA?
Drunk on drunk. That's basically it. Mm-hmm. As much as I care for you, as much as I love you, if I'm drinking and you're talking to me about God and all the things that can help me, if you ain't been a drunk,
you're not listening.
You're not hearing.
There's some things I can't do because that's not part of my life.
Yep. Yeah. And so, but for me to sit down with a room full of people who laugh when I think they're going to be horrified that I threw up at a party with friends and relatives, they've all, or half of them have
slept
done
in a flower bed or something like that. Yeah,
you betcha. And we wreck marriages, we wreck cars. We're not there for polite society. And Alcoholics Anonymous early on took what is best about the Oxford group, which took what was great about Christianity and broadened it a little bit. And we want to broaden it so that any alcoholic, anybody who gets to the point to think this just isn't working for me, can come and we can talk to them about what we did. We don't, we don't cure everybody. Churches, psychiatrists, all those things I mentioned do great work, and a lot of people get sober through them. But it's drunk on drunk, and that is the magic difference. Bill Wilson sat down with Dr. Bob Smith in Akron, Ohio, and told him what he'd been through. They both knew the Oxford group. And the trick was that Bill Wilson did not seek out Dr. Bob to get Dr. Bob sober. Bill Wilson sought out Dr. Bob to keep Bill Wilson sober. And when I shared with that fellow the other day, when I share with anybody, that's about keeping me sober because I hear it.
Well, that was one of the things I wrote down after that meeting was our friend was very appreciative of your time, and as I am and was. And your comment was, I've been sober for these last 45 minutes because I was talking to you.
And the reason it still rings with me was because it was life and death. I've been in the back of a squad car. I've been in a hospital because of my drinking. I've ruined relationships. And that 45 minutes of just sharing what I've been through. There's no fees involved. I don't want anything back from him except the chance to share something that saved my hide. And I think some people in churches, you can kind of lose the edge of it sometimes because the problems aren't as severe always. With a drunk in an AA meeting, you're talking to somebody who got there because he was scared for his or her life.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things that I wish the church did better. There's no place in the church, and I'm speaking with a huge brush here because we know of groups and all this that are doing this well. There's no place where somebody can come in and say, here's where I am, and this is what I'm dealing with, and it's ugly. I'm thinking about leaving my wife. I have just left my wife. I've got a kid who hasn't spoken to me in 15 years. There's no place where you can come and say that out loud. So if somebody else can say, I've been there, and find that connection where in AA it's drunk on drunk, in the church it's sinner with sinner, or should be. But because we have this facade of I've got it all together and we come to church to prove that we have it all together, we miss those key moments of transformation.
An AA meeting is an admitted group of broken people wanting and having a plan for getting and staying well. And some of the literature I've seen, some of the things you're working on, there are churches closing in lots of places. There are 900 meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous every week in the greater Nashville area, in Middle Tennessee. And church basements, office buildings, you name it. And we aren't lonely. There are people in trouble out there. Whatever the state of society is.
Yeah. Well, I was telling a friend earlier today, I said the interesting thing about it, if you wanted spiritual help, you couldn't get in most churches because now most churches are secured. Security, locks, da-da-da-da-da. If you don't have an appointment, it's hard to get in, period. While there are, wherever you are in the Middle Tennessee area, there is a meeting in the next hour that you can get to. And there's an app that shows you where those meetings are.
And you can come in and you can cry and you can say, my life is over, and we'll talk you through what we've been through and say, here are the simple 12 steps that we use. Here is the entire theology of AA. It's a practical program of action. If you will do these things, you will make an opening by getting rid of the worst parts of yourself for God, as you understand God. And you get to sort out what that is, but God will enter your life. I mean, we are about a relationship with whatever it is that runs the universe. And what most people know is God, but we're not going to tell you what that is.
Right.
And you will feel that God thing in a meeting. It's almost impossible, if you're an alcoholic, to walk out of an AA meeting not feeling good.
Yeah.
No matter what your
as
situation.
we would say, the Spirit comes.
Yeah.
Spirit comes.
And I will say that in terms of borrowed terms, when I speak with a rookie, I feel the Spirit moving through me. I don't think about what I'm going to say.
Right.
The Spirit does the talking. I understand that Christian concept because it's there. We are changed to the point where we can be useful to others. And of course, not everybody is. When you pick a sponsor, you look for somebody you can relate to, but sometimes you look for the meanest old guy in the corner who you know is going to kick your butt. Because I told the fellow we were talking to the other day, I got a pretty good BS detector.
Yeah.
I've seen it all and heard it all.
That's
and you ain't gonna,
Baptist stuff.
Yeah,
Baptist
exactly. You're not going to run much by me that's going to throw me off.
Yeah. The other thing about AA is there's 12 steps. Okay, here's the process. Every member of AA knows those 12 steps. And if they're working the program, they can tell you what step they're on, and tell you how this is. I'm working back through the 5th step. I'm working back through the 8th step. We do not have that kind of catechism for discipleship. Most of us are left kind of wandering. How important are the 12 steps?
The program is the 12 steps. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length, you're ready to take certain steps. That's the program we offer. Admit that it ain't working. Believe that these people have found something that works for them that's tied to God. Give your life to that process as best you can. Write down everything do the full life Catholic confession, the full Monty, everything you've done, everything done to you. We're going to go through that with another human being. You're going to talk it through, and we're going to see what we can patch up through step 9.
Because in my reading, if you do that by yourself, it'll put you in a hole you can't get out of. If you do the whole confession, but don't have another part of it is to hold you accountable, but the other part of it is to keep you from slipping down the abyss.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have to warn people that your life inventory is not all done in red ink. We don't want you to feel so bad about yourself that you go back to drinking or kill yourself. And so you have somebody walk through. You find somebody early on that you trust that you want to work with. And if it doesn't work out, you fire them and get somebody else until you're comfortable with somebody. And then by step 9, you are going back to everybody you can where it's not going to cause more trouble. You're apologizing. You're paying them back. You're paying the bill, repairing the fence, whatever it is. And then 10, 11, and 12, we're just about repeat that process and pass it on to somebody. That's the whole ball of wax.
Now, you let something slip the other day that I found fascinating. You said every morning you begin with your gratitude list and a list of things you're working on.
Well, mine is more when I get up in the morning.
My point is there's a ritual to your day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When you get up in the morning and when you go to bed at night.
Yep. I ask for the removal of the desire to drink, and then I add, smoke and all my other leaks, greed, lust, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I say thanks. And to me, when St. Paul says prayed ceaselessly, I could never figure out what he was trying to say. But if I will do those two things, start my day with prayer, with whatever runs the universe that indwells in me, and close it with appreciation and see how I did, that's the quotation marks. The day is the prayer.
Let me write that down. I think I may preach that. You steal song titles from me. I'm going to steal sermon stuff from you. Okay?
You got a deal.
I want to thank my friend Rob for joining us today, and I hope you are encouraged and are aware of what an asset AA can be to your local church's ministry. I'm Mike Glenn, and this is the Engaged Church Network podcast. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for tuning in to the Engaged Church Network podcast. We exist to train healthy and skilled leaders for congregations throughout Middle Tennessee. If today's episode helped you, share it with a fellow leader. And don't forget to visit engagedchurchnetwork.com for more ways to grow.